Oh,
You okay, Nick?
what was that for, Paul?
I had to clap to sync the audio and video because I have a delay.
So, like, this entire life of podcasting, I never really got what that meant. I just thought it was like, all right, let's do it.
I'm excited. Let's clap.
Yeah. I am excited about this episode, though, dude. Like, it's
Me too.
One that's very close to my heart, man. Oh, here we go. This is we should let this be in the recording. So, one of our guests is my older brother, and we have this clock that was given to us as a gift by like an international partner. And it's old enough that it's never on time, and it plays this whole like song for 30 seconds.
22 minutes early on the hour now. I remember the days when it was 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I forget that I have it all the time. Like, it should have been smart to remove that from my office before we were about to start this.
Oh, it's in your office, Noah. I was going to say, how has this never been in a recording? But I thought it was in your office, Nick. That makes sense.
I should put it in Nick's office as a prank when they just like hide it under his desk or something.
It's so funny. Like, it's this inside joke at the company. Oh, what time is it? Nobody really knows. But sweet clock, Noah.
I was like scrambling to find the mute button on this thing as soon as that hit, but then whatever.
So we somewhere have around an hour before it happens again, and we should be done recording. But yeah, with that lovely musical introduction, we should make our introductions to our guest today, and we'll start with a longtime listener, Nick DeGeorgia. So Nick is a manufacturing engineer from P1 Industries in upstate New York. And Nick, tell the story about like why you listen to Making Chips and how it's influenced your career.
Sure. So my career started in manufacturing about 14 years ago. It was an entry-level position, and then I worked my way up to CNC machinist, to a toolmaker apprentice, to a toolmaker, and I made the transition from cutting chips to teaching. I taught at a local community college, just teaching manufacturing from start to finish. And while I was teaching, I really wanted to get more into, the manufacturing professionals and how to work with, how to coach students and teach them not only the skills, but how to conduct themselves in a manufacturing environment. So I got big into listening to podcasts around the pandemic, like everybody else did.
Yeah, and when we had to hide in our houses and nobody could really interact with other people. So you built relationships through your headphones.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, I fell in love with Making Chips. I fell in love with Jim Carr's True Position, and just trying to take in as much information as possible. So, my teaching career was for about 4 years, and then I made the transition back into the trades. And when I went back to work at my original employer, the large OEM company in the gas and process business, I noticed there was a lot of opportunity for process improvement. And I could see improvements just from what I was doing in my cell to just everything around me, just about communication and how meetings were ran and how we did logistics and just everything. And I'm on the shop floor talking to my shop supervisor. And I'm like, hey, I have these ideas. And they're like, yeah, whatever. So I got a whiteboard. And I put it outside my cell and I start, Nick's improvement ideas. I just had a whole list of stuff. And I was like, I'm not getting across to people. I'm like, we could 5S this, and we have bottlenecks. We have to, expand our capabilities. We have to bring processes in-house, all this stuff. And I was like, I need to, it's just falling on deaf ears. So listening to the podcast, I'm trying to get into more lean and process stuff. I was very, I knew of lean manufacturing, but I was very raw with like terminology and where to start, right? Books or YouTube. I had nobody really to mentor me in it. So it was about 2 years ago. It was 2023. And I came across a Making Chips episode from 2018 with Noah talking about lean process improvement. And I was hooked. And I'm like, this is exactly what we need. I was like, everything this guy is talking about, I understand, I'm on board with. I was like, all right. So I dive into value stream mapping. I start thinking about white space in between processes, capabilities, problem solving, going through scientific thinking, all these things that I felt like was going on deaf ears at my company. This guy's promoting it and pushing it at his business. I'm like, oh, man, I need this. I need it. So I went out and bought books, and I'm writing all over my whiteboard, like value stream mapping and what's the white space in between these processes. And people are like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, no, it's, I listened to this, I'm reading about it, and, this can really help us. We have all these delays and we're late on shipments, and we outsource the work and it comes in, the quality's wrong. And we got so many opportunities for improvement. And it finally got to the point that nothing was happening. And I just said, okay, I'm going to start exploring the job market. And P1 Industries is a local contract manufacturer in the Capital District of New York, and they were extremely happy to bring me in and sit down with me. And the CEO of the company, David DeSalt, is super on board with lean manufacturing and everything from WIP control to inventory and human resources, everything. So when I sat down and interviewed, he's like, how do you feel about lean? I was like, oh, how much time do you have? I'm like, I love this stuff. So so I made the transition. I jump shipped, and I came to a small business, a contract manufacturer. I've been there a little over a year now, and the environment is 100% different, going from a global OEM company to 100-person small company. So I had to really think about, okay, I want to push these lean principles. How do I do this? And then it got into trying to build relationships with the people who I didn't know, and then trying to assess the products, because we move very quickly. It's different material. It's a job shop. So, we have different material and geometry and, different setups between jaws and material and work holding, tool holding. So trying to figure that out to how to help the guys, become lean, right? How do we help that flow? How do we eliminate waste? How do we keep things moving? And that's the big thing that I've been trying to help with is get the guys what they need, when they need it, and set them up for success.
Beautiful, Nick.
Short story, kind of long.
That's virtuous work.
No, I mean, hey,
it's easy to get excited about it when you start talking about it.
It's very exciting.
Hey, Metalworking Nation, Paul here. The countdown is on for Top Shops 2025, and I want you to be there. It's happening on November 11th and 12th in Charlotte, North Carolina at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. The best of the best in the machining industry will be all in one place, sharing strategies, best practices, and leveling up together. And optionally, come in the afternoon of the 10th to visit Roush Yates Manufacturing Solutions and see one of the most incredible machine shops in the world. If you've seen my videos of their shop, you know how amazing it is. That tour alone is worth the price of admission. Nick, Mike, and I will all be there, and we want you in the room with us. Registration is officially open, and the team at Top Shops has graciously offered listeners of Making Chips 20% off the registration price. That's $200 or more off with code MAK20. So go to topshopsevent.com, grab your spot now, and I hope to see you there.
And for those who haven't been listening since 2018, when my brother Noah was first on, I mean, I bring him up all the time. Noah's really responsible for a lot of the way I think and the way our company thinks and the culture of our company. And the last thing Nick said really says a lot about the culture of our company. So, try to set people up for success. That's what you just said, Nick. And, we think of this mission to make our customers successful as a lot more than just who's buying our product. It's whoever's next in line, whoever you're passing your work on to. And really all of that passion and these values and this lean thinking throughout our enterprise really originates with my brother, who's our president of AME and Hennig. And so happy to have you on. I don't know, what is it, 7 years later after your first episode? So
probably have way more gray hair now.
You do. You do. I, as your brother, I do have to announce that I have a lot less than you so far, but.
You're probably secretly dying it.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple on the chin there.
Like not even one. Come
on. Yeah, so Paul, I know lean is a part of your journey too.
Oh yeah.
And so much of how you design and build ProShop and why you make the decisions you make for how ProShop works is based on lean too. So maybe you could kind of speak to lean's influence on your business as a leader.
Yeah, when our shop was probably about 6 years old, we were actually just in the throes of building ProShop because we had started with all these spreadsheets and outgrew those, and nothing else on the market was worth buying. So we started implementing ProShop, but at the same time, we were getting ISO certified And we hired a consultant through the MEP network, actually, in Washington, a consultant that specialized in ISO and lean at the same time, because ISO and those types of regulated certifications can often be not very lean at all, right? There's just lots of overhead things. But she helped us, Sarah Stewart was her name, and she helped us do it in a way that was just great. So we just started building in all sorts of tools around the concepts of really just standardization, taking internal setups, making them external, keeping your spindle utilization high, getting all the information to the right people to set them up for success, just what Nick was saying. And so we built a lot of those just for the next, couple decades to come. But it was hugely impactful in our shop. Kelsey, my partner, was our champion for years, and then we had some other employees do it. But we really leaned into the Kaizen newspaper idea, among many others. We did lots of value stream maps and big Kaizen events for an entire department. But we had probably 6 different Kaizen newspaper areas out in the shop and in the office. And constantly people were putting down the wastes, and then every week working on it in small groups and eliminating. We did thousands of newspaper tickets over the years, and it just was hugely impactful and just cutting waste out of the business, right? And makes it more enjoyable, makes it more profitable, makes you a better vendor for your customers. There's just nothing that's bad about it. It's all positive.
That's awesome. So good. So I want to ask each of you, because lean is one of these words that has, so many different definitions. And sometimes when marketing is another one, right? If you talk to marketing people, they'll all define it a different way. And sometimes when a word has so many definitions that it has almost no definition. And so how do you define lean, Noah? When someone says lean, if someone say, hey, what is lean? How would you define that for somebody who didn't know?
Probably in 2 ways. I think the one that's probably more common to everyone is eliminating waste, right? The elimination of waste. But I think just as important, if not more important, is the flow of value. So if you combine both those things, you got something special that that goes on there. But then you have to define what value is also, right? And that often depends on what your mission is or who your customer is, right? So I've already feel myself getting caught into where I could go on for about 10 straight minutes on this stuff here. So Nick, I feel you, man.
Please do it.
Well, yeah, that's why you just need to have that continuous kind of loop of information feedback for the customer you are serving. And then that helps define your targets, which helps define your standard, which helps define what waste is, gaps to problems, all that good stuff. And then also helps define what value is. So maximizing the flow of value, eliminating waste.
So good, because in your definition, it can't be just about the shop floor, no. and it has to be about
a customer of information upstream, right? So
yes, so good. All right, Nick, here's your shot. Lean. If a stranger comes up to you and says, hey, Nick, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I help my company with lean. And then they say, what is that? What's lean?
I'm almost going to repeat exactly what Noah said.
Yeah, good.
I've been listening to his podcast for so long; it's ingrained in me. But it's flowing the best value to the customer by eliminating waste within the processes, and that customer can be anyone, right? It's defining what value is, and then it can be internal customers throughout the whole business, from shipping to quality and quality to outside service or whatever it is, to your actual customer or supplier. So just flowing the best value.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so when we're thinking about lean being beyond the shop floor and being an enterprise-wide kind of MO, or the way you do things, Noah, where would you start? Most of our audience is leaders of manufacturing companies, right? Whether it be a president or a leader of a function or the owner of a shop or whatever. So where would this person who's like, I hear about lean, I hear these Japanese words like kaizen and muda, and I know I'm supposed to be doing some of this stuff. So where would you recommend that they start?
Yeah, kind of depends what position they're starting in, I would say too. But I can tell you where I would start, and from the position I'm in. Well, I started lean in the shop. I'm working in the shop, right? Working in the shop, and anyone who knows me or Nick or our family, we're pretty competitive people. So if we're building the same job as somebody else, I don't want to be slower than that person. So you figure out how to get better, and then that's kind of what makes you think, well, there's a science to that, right?
Yeah, we used to race at work pretty much every time. Noah was my boss, my supervisor when we made this particular machine protection product, and it was such a fun race. And when you operate that way, like the day goes by so much faster because you're trying to get better and better and better. And you don't even necessarily realize you're doing it, but in trying to be the fastest, you're eliminating waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I started and getting there. And then that led me into continuous improvement, which then, I kind of came up through the manufacturing side. And then I got into becoming a shop worker to a continuous improvement manager, and then director of continuous improvement. But at some point then I realized, you could be the best person at building this thing fast. And if you got crappy inputs or missed one part or something at a bad quality problem, your times were ruined, right? You lost before you started, right? So then you start like, okay, well, what's the difference then between the shop floor and, the office processes, or we call them QROCs at our place, which is quick response office cell. It's like a cross-functional team that's kind of put together in a way to flow value and eliminate waste in that area. And then it occurred to me that there's really no difference in the concepts. It's just one applies to material items, right? And one applies to information. Same concepts apply the whole way through. Nick, you were talking about white space, right? That's just times in between queues. If you can ever combine steps into one step, it eliminates all the white space in between those steps. And then as I grew up kind of in that world for a couple of years, got into, director about operations, which now there's engineering, now you're realizing that all these major functions of a company really need to work together. And then at some point, between then and now, I'm in the president seat. And then that's where it went from, shop floor lean, the office processes lean, just continual upstream, and then to like how lean applies to strategy deployment. And that's kind of the world we're living in now. And that's where it gets pretty fun. I mean, Nick was, being kind, saying how maybe I influenced a lot of the way things happen, but I get to learn continually from how that works too. Like the lean that we've implemented into the sales processes, Nick, and then making sure that that's aligned, sales inputs feed engineering and feed operations, right? And if those are off, it gets sent back. So it's a rework of information, right?
I mean, you just talked about it depends on what customer you're serving and how they define value.
Yeah.
And so we get that from our customers in the field, and they're saying, hey, we value this, this, and this, and we need it this way. And then basically we reverse engineer that into every function of our company. We do our best to do the best job at that. And the more we do it, the better we grow.
Yeah. And so Nick's done an outstanding job of embracing this kind of mentality, this culture, this way of thinking, and helping it apply into the sales function. You know what I mean? And then, strategy deployment, right? So our mission it's not a very complicated one. It's make our customers successful. We define that a few different ways. Internal is the one of whoever you're passing your work on to, right? But the external customer basically helps set your overall targets you're trying to achieve, right? Because you're trying to make them successful. So the strategy deployment gets really interesting because you have to create an overall offering that there's teammates from every function usually that are required to do that. Well, how do you make it clear what that offering is? It could be changing. It's different on customer to customer, right? And so there's lean involved in pulling that information from the marketplace, from the customer. Competitive intelligence, we make a joke, we call it CIA, our CIA department, which is basically just customer intelligence agency or competitive intelligence agency, right? So, I mean, we're working on that right now, Nick, you and I, with our business. How do we continually improve that? And
we got agents in the field who have a sales meeting and they're like, hey, we just learned that we're X% high on this product, or their lead time is here and our lead time is here, or whatever. And our job, my job, Noah's job, the leaders of our company's job is to take that information and try to figure out how to solve for that gap as fast as possible and bring a winning offer back to that customer.
Exactly.
And it's not sales' job to do that. It's the entire company's job to do that.
But that pull of information is the gasoline to the engine from at least my position now of how I view that, right? So if we don't get that, then we're, trying to hit a target in the dark, right? Because we don't have a clarity of what that is. So, and then not to get too many layers deep in the lean inception world here, but continuous improvement itself requires continuous improvement, right? So how do we get better at continually improving? And you just have to have that mentality that there's never a finish. There's always somewhere to get better. And every time you're doing anything, there's an opportunity to kind of find those treasures, find those opportunities to get better. So sorry, that was a long roundabout.
No, it's super good.
Not even answering your real question. So I guess where you start is where your position is. Start with what you're working on, get that kind of set up, and then work your way upstream.
Yeah,
is what I would do that. So
I love that. Yeah, when you say work your way upstream, that's kind of like what I thought you were going to say is I remember you created something that's similar to a value stream, and it was
process
about
success map.
it was a process success map, and you didn't start, you started at the furthest downstream process.
Start at the last step of the process. You have a nice conversation. You sit down. You define exactly what the requirements are. What do you want the output of that process to look like, and spend some time getting some clarity there. And then that's the requirements of the process, right? So that's probably common everywhere. But then we have a conversation with all the inputs, all the upstream processes that provide inputs. And then it's like, well, how do you want to receive all your inputs to put you in the best position to be successful? A quick and easy example would be like if we're building an enclosure, right? So we build a lot of enclosures for, we call it genset, or feeding the data center market. So build enclosures around big generator machines. Well, there's a best way to assemble that, right? So you need maybe your corner piece first, then you build the back wall, then your next corner. So there's an exact order of how you would like to receive your parts, right? So we define that, and then, okay, now painting has to supply it in that exact way, in the carts on that exact way. So they don't have to have 5 carts of parts that they're searching for every different random one for, you know
it's
what I
like
mean?
the difference between getting a puzzle that's numbered from left to right. Like,
that's a good way to put it.
And it's easy to assemble that rather than trying to sort through everything and figure it out.
Well, anyway, so the requirements to be successful from the inputs become the upstream processes requirements, and then they say, well, how do I need my inputs to reach that? And that's where you have to start at the last part of the process, because that kind of starts the chain link, right, all the way through. And then you just rinse and repeat that same philosophy, and then all of a sudden you're from final assembly through up to powder coat, up to welding, up to bending, up to laser, and then you realize, well, laser gets a bad file, or the information or the nest was wrong. This is a Hennig example. This applies in any machine shop, or any, not even shop, just anything that has a process, right? So and then that's how you start getting up into the information, right? And then you really understand how important quality information is. And anytime that doesn't happen, so then you basically set a standard of how things, it's like the rules of the road, right? But how are things supposed to occur? And anytime an input hits a process and it didn't meet those standards, we flag it. We capture it. We call it complete and accurate. Probably got it from a book, that metric from a book at some point along the way. But and then we measure that in complete and accurate. And if it's just a one-off here or there, we correct the problem. If it happens systemically, we usually set a threshold at 5 instances, but you can set it whatever makes sense. But anytime it passes a threshold, it's more than just a one-off. We try to find there's a systematic problem here. Where's the root cause live? How do we solve the root cause? And that's where we're eliminating waste and flowing value from a manufacturing lens. But
I love that. I think, for anyone like Nick, you mentioned when you first started and you were having a hard time getting buy-in. Yeah. And sometimes that could be hard when you're like the lean guy, but you're not in the highest authority position. Like Noah has certain advantages because he can just like make this be the way the company works. And he didn't start there, So when you're trying to get buy-in and you're maybe a shop floor level guy, it can be a bit more challenging. But if you're a leader and you're hearing this, one great way to get buy-in is to let each step of the process define what it takes to make them successful. Like, I want to get my parts like this, in this condition, in this order, set up this way. And then you're like, all right, I hear that. Like, that's good. I want you to get it that way too. We'll make that the standard.
Yeah.
And now everyone's bought in, if you do that every step.
So kind of that process I described, you map it out. Again, we're going all the way up into our office processes, and then a highly functional organization that we're working towards is when all your shipping final assembly gets connected all the way up to voice of customer, right? You just start linking the bottom of your manufacturing process all the way up to the top of your like customer acquisition process, right? And and that's where it starts to get pretty powerful when you do it right, but it's always a challenge. But yeah, Nick, you said it right. That's the best way to get buy-in is like, hey, tell me how you want it.
Hey, it's Paul from MakingChips. If you've been burned by recruiters who don't understand manufacturing, you are not alone. That's exactly why we created Hire MFG Leaders. We're not just recruiters, we're current and former shop owners, and we know what it takes to lead in this industry. Whether you're hiring your next operations leader, sales manager, or production supervisor, we'll help you find someone who actually fits. Learn more at makingchips.com/hire.
So Nick, tell us a little bit about some of the things
good.
that you adopted at P1 and what they were open to and what you brought and changed, what it was like before and what changed after you implemented all your ideas.
Yeah. So there were multiple challenges when I joined the team. One, I was new, so I had to form relationships, I had to form trust, and I was trying to drive process change and improvements and eliminate waste where I saw it. So it was a balance of trying to audit and see what's going on and learn everything and build these relationships. So something that I was able to really assist with, and we had a team really working on it, was like no hunting, right? Nick, this is something that you guys have talked about in the past. No hunting for tools or fixtures or work holding or whatever it is. So I had been with the company for about 3 months working alongside our tool specialist in the tool room, and all day long, people are coming in the tool room looking for this, looking for that, looking for this, looking for this. So in the beginning of the year, January, I started to document questions that came in, and I'm still doing it throughout 2025. And in the month of January, we had about 120 questions come in, either technical questions. How do I do this? Can you help me out? Because our tooling specialist, he's one of the first 4 employees of the company. So he's very familiar with all the components and how to set up where everything is. So people come in there and ask him questions for setup. They ask him where the tooling is. They ask him all this stuff. And sometimes it's, hey, we got to order more of this, or where is this? I can't find that. So it was like 120 questions in January. And it's just like, this is crazy. Like people can't find stuff. Like you're not available to help, like or coach. Like we gotta make some adjustments here. So we started tracking those questions. And then after we would track them for 2 months, and then him and I would sit down and say, okay, what are some quick hitters? What do we need to buy more of? What do we need to make better locations for? What do we have to be transparent about where we're keeping stuff? And so we continued that trend. And for the month of October, we're at about 15 questions. Wow. And those are mostly technical questions. Hey, I have a weird material. I'm not sure the speeds and feeds. Can you come out and coach and whatnot? So, or it's, hey, we only have one of these. Can we duplicate it somewhere? So, we went from 120 in January to about 15 in October.
Beautiful.
So really Amazing. Proud of that.
Yeah.
And I think some of the questions are still happening, but we're out on the floor more and things are more organized. People have better clarity of what's going on and where to find things. And our tooling specialist, Ben, he's available on the shop floor as he should be, coaching and making sure that things are ready for him. We started a 2-bin Kanban system for tooling for specific jobs for materials. Hey, we have a really hard Monel at 3 of our work centers. Okay, so here's your tooling. When you're done, we have a second bin for you set up. We're just going to keep rotating that. So that was a big thing.
Let's dive into that particular tactic. We use the word Kanban a lot at our company too. I don't know what it actually means. I just know it's not English. But I know what it looks like. And yeah. So what is a 2-bin Kanban system?
So we use it as kind of like a just-in-time tooling providing, right? So we have it set up for our consumables. Okay. We have a secondary office for supplies, for shop floor supplies, and for carbide and cutters for the guys. So what we've done is we use a software called Gemba Docs allows us to create SOPs very easily using phones, tablets, or on the desktop for standard work. And it also has part of the software is creating cards for a reordering system. So all the stuff that we have set up in our secondary office is set up to this reorder 2-bin system. So guys don't have to write down what they're taking. They don't have to come and leave something at our desk. If there's say 4 items in a bin or 2 items, or maybe there's a couple items in 2 bins or however it's set up because of the size, they pull those items and then they get to the one item. There's a card taped to it. They pull that card. I have a drop box set up outside the office. There's a little trash can for the tape. There's a 3D printed card tray, and then there's a work instruction of, hey, you get this card, put it in this slot, and then Ben and I in our rotation around the shop will get it, and that's our signal.
Got it.
It's the barrier. It's the barrier of ordering and not running out of tooling or supplies.
So you never run out, and then you also don't carry too much inventory, a bunch of excess inventory, because you're like, well, we don't know when we're going to need these, so let's just carry 100 of them. You got a 2-bin system, you carry 4 or whatever it was.
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
So the cards act as a signal, or you have 2 bins where there's 4 items in each bin. You empty the first bin, then you pull open the second bin, and that first bin is the signal, the barrier of, hey, you have to restock this.
So within your Kanban card, you have standard work written into it as well?
Not with the card. There's 2 different, the software is set up with 2 different platforms. You can either make the standard work with it, or you can make the cards. So I made an SOP for when you pull this card, what to do. I printed it out. I laminated it. It's on Velcro right on the door, with the trays for the cards and a little trash can for the tape.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So you said signal, and there's another lean word that, Noah, is that one Andon? Is that kind of means signal? And
raise the flag,
and you said that, like, we raise a flag whenever something's not complete and accurate. And I just want to make the point, we talked about CIA, right? Like getting that intelligence from your customer, whether it's an internal customer or an external customer. And then the opposite of that, the worst thing is CYA, cover your ass. Don't raise the flag. Don't highlight a problem. Don't admit that there was what you called a treasure or an area where we need to improve. And so how do you get that into everybody's mindset that it's actually a good thing to admit, like, hey, this didn't go the way it needed to go, and we should on this and raise the signal and highlight to the company that we weren't perfect? That can be a challenge.
It takes work. I mean, it takes time. It takes trust. It's a lot about building trust with the team. It's celebrating it when you get it. Celebrating the fact that you're finding the issues exist whether you see them or not, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of it's trying to just make it visual, and then acting like when you find it, it's a win with the team. Telling them that they helped you win when it's a team, when your team's finding that, and then just staying the course, being disciplined. I mean, we created our leveled management, so we have what we call our level 1 meetings, and we have them on the shop floor, we have them in our Q rocks, and that's just it's a stand-up meeting basically, where you talk about what your targets are. The standard kind of SKU dip stuff, safety, quality, inventory, delivery, productivity. And then, so in the quality side, we created the metric. Like, I wanted not just to know how many we're fixing. I want to know, I'm measuring how many are we identifying a day. And if we're not identifying enough, I know that the problems are there.
Yeah.
Like they live there. So we're challenging people and setting targets to identify them. I think at Advanced Machine Engineering, our Machine Shop company, we did this last year, and then we set a target of getting, as soon as we get X amount of complete and accurate entries, we could do a pizza party, right? And then it was, hey, we're going to do a cook. We're going to buy a grill for the company and then have a cookout as soon as every single person's entered, like 3 or 4 of them or something like that. And that's kind of
rewarding the problem identification.
Exactly.
Because I almost made a joke when you were like, and then whenever it's not complete and accurate, we flag somebody. I was like, and then someone immediately gets fired.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's actually the exact opposite.
Of like how you would get there. I was thinking.
Yeah. Nick, how would you answer that?
Well, at P1, there was something that I had to learn about, like reliability with the guys, in order for them to, tell me something was wrong or suggest an improvement. It's okay. Hey, if you suggest something or something's wrong, and that it's going to get fixed, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that I'm going to pay attention to. I'm going to bring it up to other people, or we're going to form a team and really going to dive into it. So, having that reliability factor is clutch. Noah mentioned gaining trust and celebrating it. And if somebody raises their hand and say, hey, this is wrong or this is broken, it's like, okay, not that I'm going to get to it in a month. Let me take care of that now. Prove to you that we are dedicated to fixing and working through issues. And that gains that trust for them to want to raise their hand. And it's happened a lot recently. As I've gained more trust with the crew, they're pulling me into all sorts of projects, and hey, I've noticed this, or hey, what about that? And it's slightly overwhelming at times.
That's awesome.
But it's a good problem to have.
That's awesome. That means you're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
The feedback is reliability, trust, and patience. It's, hey, maybe I can't get to it right now, but I'll get to it in a couple of days. I'm writing it down. We're going to follow up on it. They all bust my chops because I have several whiteboards in my office that I'm writing, like, this is I need to address this now. This is end of the week. This is next month, and whatnot. And they're like, okay, where am I on your list? I'm over there or whatnot, but I'm not losing track of it. And, and
just
then
don't hand out erasers and dry erase markers.
No, I gotta hide them.
They'll put themselves at the top.
Yeah. Well, I'm always,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm always taking pictures of the whiteboard. That's something that you gotta do. But being reliable, I think, and following through when there is an issue, I think is a very big factor.
Yeah, you make such a good point about following through. That's a huge part of it, because
commitment is
until
huge.
that happens, they just think it's an exercise, right? Mm-hmm. I always tell our whole team, I'm like, the creating processes to get data, looking at data, making it visual, that's all something you need to do, but all of that's just a cost, right? And if you're not going to use it to close the loop and to drive improvement from it, don't even waste the time to get it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people create these processes or systems, do 90% of the overall work, and that last 10% of like closing the loop, making it visual, setting who's going to do what by what date. It's like 3 elements of, we had a theme called Back to the Basics once, and there's like so much of this stuff just comes down to 3 basic things, like clarity of task, who's going to do it, and by when it's supposed to be done. Make that visual, and then make everyone be a part of that, and then you're closing the loop, getting the value for your efforts. So,
well, that's
Nick, man, you were dialed in, bud.
That last part is the A in the PDCA wheel, right? It's that act and making sure whatever that improvement was is taken all the way through to every other place where it applies, and the loop is fully closed and it's implemented. So that is a crucial part of it.
I need to on myself here. Yeah, I'll on myself here with that. Like, we get the CIA from the field, right? Our regional guys will bring back some insight, and then we have a ticket system for how they can log that competitive intelligence, and it flows through our weekly meetings on either Tuesdays for Hennig and Thursdays for AME. And then we address it. We read every CIA ticket and we put some action behind it. We do the A. But one part of action that we're missing, and that we've been told by the guys in the field we need to do a better job of, is like, well, then let them know. Let the regional person who brought in the CIA, like, what organizationally we're doing about that. Because I want more of that. I want more of that deep insight from the field. And if they feel like when they bring some sort of detailed competitive intelligence to us, and then it changes into like what we're going to do as an organization to improve that offer for them and give them something more valuable to sell to the customer, then they're going to bring more and more CIA. So even that is something like right now, I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, we got to do a better job of that. Let's make sure we're closing the loop all the way back to the customer who brought us that insight.
There was something you said, Noah, about the basics. And I saw a quote on LinkedIn said, lean is not magic. It's just discipline in the basics.
Yeah, right? That's a really well put. Yeah.
I thought that was excellent. And the guys at work, they know that I'm the lean enthusiast, and I know the Japanese terms and this, that. I'm like, listen, it's not magic. It's like, it's just sticking to the basics. We're committed. We're going to try to help coach. We're going to be consistent. We're always trying to learn. And these are things that we're just going to keep repeating. And at least I'm going to keep repeating. And as I continue to work for the company, it's not going to go away, So it's just having the discipline, stick to the basics, the communication, transparency, standard work. It's all just really basic things.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. So Paul, like, he was talking, I'll just plug your own product for you because I do it all the time and you're too humble to do it for yourself. But Nick is sitting here talking about, like, I think he called it Gemba docs and some of like how the standard operating procedures is worked into their business system. And even at Goellner, like, our business operating system is kind of like this amalgamation of different softwares and the way we utilize those softwares to have our own system. It's not kind of like all built into one thing, but this is about lean for the entire enterprise. And Noah said earlier, like, anything that has a process, which is basically any kind of company, can benefit from lean. So you guys develop a software solution that helps manufacturing leaders run a better company in an ERP system. And as you're hearing some of these things that like Nick is talking about with standard operating procedures and like working lean principles into the software, maybe take a moment to share how ProShop does some of those things.
Yeah, sure. So, we were a job shop, and P1 is a job shop, and there's lots out there. And so there's, there's so many different types of projects coming, right? You're not making the same thing over and over again typically. So starting with capturing information from the sales, team, or from the RFQ that's coming in as a quote that the sales and or estimating people are taking their first look at. So of course they need to come up with a process that they think will be accurate and realistic for the shop, but also making sure they capture little gotchas, right? There's always a million of those things, right? You might need a special thread gauge, or there's this special cutting tool that's going to be a long lead time, or there's a DFARS clause on the material, or all these million things that can bite you if you don't get them right. So even starting with putting places to capture those that will then pop up and notify people down the line, because you're trying to set the next person up for success. Because, order entry and contract review flows next after, winning that job that the estimator sales team put in place. And then from there, there's many internal customers, from scheduling and manufacturing planning and quality planning, procurement. So they all need to get their information. So this idea that you can put in a piece of information once and have it flow ultimately, potentially all the way to the packing slip or certificate of conformance, right? Without ever having to type it in again, and making sure that the people that need to see it are going to see it at the right time. And one of the biggest ones that affects, of course, the shop is if everyone does their job right in the office, then you have a kitted, once you start getting into tooling and, cutting tools and fixtures and job kitting and prep, when we're talking about taking internal setup and making it external to the machine, right? You have a fully kitted tool list in the right holders with the right extension length, with the right fixture ID number, the right gauges you need for inspection, the right inspection plan, the work instructions, all fully prepped and ready for that machinist to hopefully then do their setup and hit or beat the target time that was set originally by estimating, or possibly refined by the planning and programming department. But when you can do that, then you're kind of setting the shop up to hit the schedule that you originally planned. The machinists love that, because they don't want to deal with an incomplete document package. They don't want to struggle trying to troubleshoot something because they don't know from the office what exactly they were supposed to be doing, or the programmer didn't give them enough detail about a cutting tool or a tolerance they had to hit. So there's just a lot of places where we have that information and can feed it right to the folks, very similar to what Nick was describing, right? And then even in the back end things, setting up all your preventative maintenance. We even used our equipment module for doing all of our 5S and sort of kaizen events, and making sure you're doing the sustaining part of 5S, making sure your areas are clean and tidy all the time. You're doing all the things to maintain your equipment so they don't break down, because that is certainly a major waste when your machines break down. And then, of course, at the very end, when you're ready to ship out parts and you have to have a very complete document package, queuing up all of your documents. So it's basically a one-click button to prepare your AS9102 report, your CFC, and potentially hundreds of certs and first article reports all in one package. So, because as you get into really complex parts and assemblies, those can potentially take hours and hours to prepare. And if you do the right things upstream, you can make that minutes or seconds instead of hours.
That's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way you designed it. Like, as a shop owner, as
you got a ProShop
guy who
there,
ran
Nick?
a machine shop.
Yeah, I got it from East Tech. Yeah,
nice.
I'm a fan.
So good.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. So, full circle here, right? We got a software guy. We've got a guy in a job shop environment. We have a job shop type aspect to our business in one area, but most of what we do is we're product manufacturers, and Lean applies to all of it. Lean applies to hospitals. Lean applies to finance. Lean applies to anything that is a process. So really any type of business. And, that's what we were trying to convey here with this episode is like the Lean enterprise, having a lean mindset throughout your entire enterprise. And I think to leave the audience with a couple takeaways here as we wrap up, it's about continuous learning, right? And there's endless amounts of lean tutorials and lean books and, resources. Just this podcast is one of them. But I see, Nick, right behind you, a couple books that are like required reading at our company.
Yeah.
And
there's a few back there.
Toyota Kata.
Yeah.
I got a Toyota Kata coaching card right here.
I love that.
Yeah, there's a few. I'm big into reading, and I've read most of those just this year, and some of them I've read multiple times. Just trying to stay, just trying to keep it in my kata, right, in my routine of learning and listening, and it's if I stay committed to it, I can preach it, right?
Yeah, and then you have that reliability that you just talked about earlier that makes your shop realize this guy's legit. He didn't just come read a book and come in all inspired and then everything falls apart because he didn't follow through. So I love that. And maybe if you had to pick like a starter book or like the first book you would hand to somebody, a shop owner who's like, man, I really want to implement some lean or maybe understand lean in a better way, what would be the first book you would give to manufacturing leader?
Probably 2 Second Lean by Paul Akers. That's really simple. It talks about lean being about fixing what bugs you and then putting in the hard work up front, so it makes it easy in the back end. It's a very easy read. It's available on audio, but 2 Second Lean is the one I've gotten the most traction with recommending to people. Toyota Kata, I got that off Noah when he was talking about it. Talking about going to KataCon, and I had to learn more about the scientific thinking. I think that's more of the developed leader and manufacturers. 2 Second Lead is what I would recommend. If I had a friend saying, "Hey, I'm trying to get into it," I'd hand them that book.
Cool. Yeah. Noah, what about you? First book for lean?
Oh man, it's been a while back. I haven't read the one you were talking about, Nick, but I don't know if it's first book, but the Toyota Kata was really good. We read the Toyota Way, which is good. The goal was pretty interesting to how you think about bottlenecks and things like that. Learning to see, managing to learn. Some of those are good ones.
Learning to see, I love that. Yeah, I reference it like weekly.
Yeah, that's some solid ones. And then one other thing I'd like to say, just beyond books, but like part of building a lean enterprise is getting a lean network too. So at a KataCon, I was trying to figure out, I couldn't find the book of how to make this like business system or the strategy deployment at our company the way I envisioned it, and I was struggling. And that's where I met a woman named Karen Ross, who's actually co-authored the book Toyota Way to Service Excellence with Jeffrey Liker, and had her help coach me for a while. Then I had her help coach other people. So that was over 7 years ago. She's still working with our company today.
Yeah, those Tuesday and Thursday leadership meetings. Karen is a bright, bubbly, kind figure in every one of those. She also wrote a book called, what is it? Something about kindness, like the kind leader. Kind leader, yeah. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's still doing stuff like that. So I guess one thing I would encourage people to do is be a coach and find a coach. Right? I still want to be coached. It's like if you want to get in shape, get a personal trainer if you want to get really good gains. You know what I mean? So that, and just never act like your cup is too full for anything else to get into it, right? As soon as you think you know everything, you just limit how much you're going to learn anymore. So stay humble, always try to find ways everywhere you can continue to learn, and get a network. Sometimes it's easy to get caught in some tunnel vision or a way of thinking, and another person has a different perspective, like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's cool. And that kind of opens things up again, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I think the one that got me more interested in lean than just, okay, we're supposed to do this stuff at work, it was the goal. And because it's like written like a narrative, it really tells a story. And so you end up like empathizing with this character, and you want his life to work out.
Everyone's rooting for Herbie.
You're rooting for Herbie, and you're rooting for the protagonist who's got like the things that bug him that Nick was talking about are affecting his marriage, and he's stressed out all the time, and it's really true. I mean, it really does. If the less lean you are, the more likely you are to be stressed and unsuccessful in your career. So I like the goal, and I stole the whole idea of the goal with the 4-part episode we made on Lights Out called The Automation Trap, where we basically told the story of a guy who automates with all the wrong whys behind it, and he's just trying to be cool like the other shop that bought a robot, and he doesn't really understand why he's investing in this technology. He's just trying to keep up with the Joneses of manufacturing. So
it's a good way to correlate that.
Yeah, it was real fun. So yeah, Paul, your final thoughts here, and kind of like any initial lean advice to somebody who might hear about it and hear these Japanese terms and hear like concepts, but they're not really feeling confident that they know how to bring it into their company.
Well, I agree with Nick. 2 Second Lean is a wonderful book. It's very approachable. I'm a little bit biased because Paul Akers lives in my town. I've visited his company before.
That's cool.
And
I'd love to go there.
Yeah, you should come out sometime. And then another book that isn't really lean per se, but it's one of the foundational books in my life is the E-Myth. And it talks about the importance of building systems. And, and of course they should be lean systems without a lot of waste built into them. But it's so, at the core of what we're talking about is building lean, standard work processes. And that's pretty foundational in that book. So that's also a super easy read. It's sort of it's not too heady. So, and then one thing, if a company is looking to kind of bring it into their company, we just continually trained on the wastes and got posters all over the place to the point where everyone could tell you what they were. And as you start ingraining them deep into their psyche, then they will eventually start recognizing when they are doing wasteful things. And that's when they can write them down and say, hey, I just realized I was doing transportation or motion or overprocessing. And they write it down and then you can fix it. So something that tactical can really make a big difference.
We got to kick Tim Woods out of the company.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's a cancer.
I love that.
Manufacturers, what is your biggest headache? Is it measuring improving profitability, gaining efficiencies with AI and automation, maybe tightening up your cybersecurity, maybe getting your business ready to sell? At CLA, their goal is to know you and help you with challenges like these and more. Every day, CLA helps manufacturers tap into millions in revenue and cost savings, like one manufacturer that boosted capacity and revenues by 15 to 20%. Visit CLAconnect.com to hear real success stories and learn how you can grow your top and bottom line.
Well, hey, Noah, you said it, right? Whether it's lean or whether it's just being great as an investor or being great in sales and marketing or being great as an engineer, it really is about connection. It's about building a network. And that's what Making Chips is all about. We've just been so blessed for, I don't know what it is, almost 500 episodes. If you count all the other podcasts, way over 500 episodes. We've just been so blessed to build this incredible network. And Nick, you thanked us for letting you be on here. You don't know how good it makes me, Paul, Mike, Noah feel that you heard an episode from 2018. It changed the course of your career and inspired you. We do this to equip and inspire manufacturing leaders. So if you're struggling to find a network, reach out to us on LinkedIn and say, hey, who do you guys know that's great at this? I want to get better at that. Chances are we probably know somebody. And after this long, we've probably already interviewed someone in that category and put them on Making Chips. So as we wrap up, we just want to ask the audience if you like this stuff, if you're getting anything out of the Machine Shop MBA series. I think we're basically done. There might be one more episode, but yeah, please share it. More than we want you to like it and give it 5 stars and write reviews on all the platforms, but just share it with somebody else is the most important thing, someone who can benefit from it, because that's really why we do this. And we all know if you don't have a network of manufacturing leaders and if you can't run lean, you're not making chips.
And if you're not making chips,
not making money.
You're not making money.
Bam.